Hi, so this is part 4 of the Principles of Animation unit, and in this video we're going to go over the hamster wheel exercise. Now this exercise basically combines the cube in space, so knowing how to turn objects into forms that look like they're in a 3D plane using 2D drawing skills, but this is very much the form equivalent of the arcs and whips exercise. So how do we take that idea and start turning it into a 3D sense of space? So we are essentially going to be taking a piece of paper, which I am making it go back in space because I'm basing it on orthogonals. You can see this is a diagonal and this is a diagonal going back in space. And we're going to be making this piece of paper turn around an axis point. So this could be like an arm or a leg joint. This could be an object moving around something. But at first, we're just going to practice how can we make that straight and wrapping around a form. And then later on in the exercise, we're going to, starting like right here, this is where I show it, we're going to make this piece of paper look like it's blowing in the wind. So this again could just be an arm or a leg or even a body. And we're going to use a whip at the very end, so turning that C curve into an S curve and make that fall. Now, one thing I did in my example so you can see this is that the direction of your C curves is really going to make a difference. So right here, you can see it's actually going with the wind. It's kind of like scooping. So it does not look like, this does not really look like it's blowing in the wind. So I actually did that in my example just to show you, that looks more like a firm object, where this looks like a more drapey sort of object, maybe like a piece of paper. So we're going to focus on making our C curves go in that direction. All right, let's make a new document and start from the beginning. Actually, let me show you this just one time played. So that's straight, that's scooped, and then this is flowing. So it goes pretty fast. I did 2 rotations around each one. All right, so now let's make the new document. Okay, so new, time-lapse setting, 1080p, 1920 by 1080, good quality, create. All right, first we're going to set up our guidelines. So I'm going to go to my canvas, so wrench, canvas, and then animation assist. And I'm going to select this first frame to be my background for my animation. And for this part, you have to take your time with it because we got to get a circle that's very much circular. So it can't really be like that's more of an oval. Really want to take my time. I'm trying to draw a decent circle and then I'm going to wrap it around. So this one, I'm holding it for a second to get that straight line, that smoothing sort of transition. Don't worry about the connection being perfect. You just want the circle to be, relatively circular and not look ellipsed. All right, from here, what I'm going to do is just kind of size a little bit. I'm going to end up duplicating this in 1 second. But first, I'm going to make some guides on it. So I'm going to give myself my axis point in the middle, just a little dot, and then I'm going to divide it into crosshairs. So north, south, east, west. Then I'm going to do, once I have those placed in, I'm going to eyeball it and do the diagonals. So you want this to be very accurate first. All right, from there, I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to move it down and to the left. I want to make sure I don't really have any tangents, so it's easier to read. I think right about there is pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to merge that down. So now my guide is on one layer again, and I'm just going to make it more centered using my transformation tool. All right, from here, I'm ready to start animating. So what I want to think about first is I'm creating a piece of paper and I'm going to make this go around the circle. So this is the first part. Again, I would like you guys to try staying away from the straight line tool. It's really not helpful once we get into animation because we got to be able to draw pretty quick when we do it, and it's not about the lines being perfect. So I am essentially, connecting the two dots in the middle. So I'm connecting my axis and I'm creating a parallel diagonal up here. So 2 sets of parallels, then I'm connecting them down to create that piece of paper. All right, where this can get a little bit trickier is at some viewpoints, it's going to get really thin. and that's okay. So I'm connecting the front circle, so axis out to my little guide point, my little hash, and then I'm connecting the back one. And then wherever that lands, I'm going to create that diagonal connecting the two. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Some people find it easier to do this first, so to connect out the long way. But it doesn't really matter. I would just do one set of parallel lines and then do the other set. All right, from here, I'm going to keep doing the long way. And don't worry about if you cross the circle. It's just wherever you see that land, that's where that diagonal is going to be. Okay, this time I'm going to do the short way first, so connect those across. So two parallels and then two parallels, wherever those meet. So it's going to be these side ones. Like this one right here is going to be pretty thin. That's okay. Just wherever they connect, I'm going to have that parallelogram. So front connects to front, back connects to back. So the front circle connects the front circle, back circle connects the back circle. So I have just taken that all the way around. And if I scroll my animation, I can see that now looks like a piece of paper kind of going around in space. So following that sense of planar direction, because all of my angles are pretty much going back in space. All right, my next frame, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this start look like it's going with the wind. So I'm going to, these are two different types of movements, but this is technically us switching into the whip. So I'm going to start C-curving it forward. So the front circle connects to the front. So the hatch, and then the back circle connects to the back. And then I'm really going to follow those diagonals that I originally had. All right, so these ones, if they overlap, if I run into something, that's okay. Just going to kind of let it be, because I might even see the front and back side. So all my C curves are heading in that same direction. Front connects to front, back connects to back, orthogonals. Front connects to front, back connects to back, orthogonals. And this one, it actually overlaps, that's okay. Just kind of let it, you might actually just add another line like right there. And you can see it should be, in the end, they should be doing the opposites because it's flowing up. So essentially, even though this is radial symmetry where it looks like it's going around in space. Okay, so let's kind of just play that through so we can see it. So you can see the second rotation, it looks like it's more bendy. That's where I'm kind of starting that whip. So this is technically representing that C curve of the whip. I'm going to have this go around just one more time because I really want you guys to do 2 rotations on each just to kind of make sure you're getting used to it. And then right before this, or right when this gets up to the final position, the top, so I'm actually just kind of tracing what I had. You can also copy frames by just copying layers, but you know, animation doesn't have to be perfect as long as things are connecting well. So once this gets to the top, then I'm going to turn this into a whip with gravity. Oop, I forgot to connect that in. You can always go back and edit frames as well. Don't feel like you always have, if you make a mistake or left something out, you can always go back and do that. All right. So from here, I'm going to let it stop. And now I'm going to start S-curving this downwards. So I have a C curve. So again, when you do a whip, it's always going to be traveling down this direction. So I'm going to actually change this so you can only see the onion skin on my last frame, just so we're not getting too overwhelmed. All right, so this part's going to start traveling down while this is still traveling this way, while the part that's closer to the anchor point is going to start traveling down. All right, so I'm going to have the S curves are going to be the same. My orthogonals are going to be even. So this part's still traveling down while this part's traveling up. So there's always going to be some sort of little crisscross. And I want to make sure over here, I was starting to get off my anchor point. You want to make sure you're ending right at those anchor points so it doesn't look like it's floating any which way. And at one point, these are still going forward. You can see they're becoming really swoopy. So I'm going to have to add an overlap to my, I'm actually like overlapping this little piece of paper. And now it's going to probably start transitioning into a C-curve. So this is starting to be, I'm still making sure they're parallel. My orthogonals, my 3 diagonals, I'm connecting. And then I'm going to erase those. So I think at this point, I'm going to now transition. That's a lot of falling. So I'm going to transition this just back to a C-curve and let it kind of naturally fall. So I tend to do the front side first. Again, these are going to be parallel. And then wherever these connect, I'm going to end up erasing it. It's going to start falling a little bit more. Not worried about where that second side hits. When I do the orthogonals, like this one actually needed to come up a little bit more. When I do the orthogonals, I'm just making sure they're parallel before I go back and erase that back edge. Maybe I'll do one more frame so it just ends with a looser C curve. All right, so let's play this. I'm going to make this a little bit slower so it's easier to kind of see what's going on. I'm doing 9 frames a second, or 9 frames a second. All right, so straight C, or this whip, and then it falls through using the S curve. So that's it. 2 rotations are on each, and then I want to see you make it fall. So you're practicing how to do a whip with an actual form in space. All right, guys, take care.